in Chicago have been murdered and are dead. And that's on you. You did that.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm looking at the real numbers here, and they directly contradict everything that you just...
You know what that was? That was me blowing away their dishonesty.
That was the actress Melissa McCarthy lampooning White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer on the U.S. comedy program Saturday Night Live. Welcome back. We're talking about the challenging relationship between U.S. President Donald Trump and the media. Len, you were watching that. Do you want to say something?
I was watching as a reporter for a Chicago publication in a city that is vexed by crime. One of the things that is Trump actually has fixated on Chicago. And he has said, we're going to send in the feds if the city doesn't stop, if the mayor doesn't fix the problem with all our bloodshed. And what we're waiting for is to hear some proposals from the White House. And it's clear that there's a problem in Chicago. And then here's a quick example of the inaccuracy. He makes a point that even on the night when President Barack Obama went back to give his farewell address in Chicago, that was January 10th, he said 2 people got killed. Well, that was a night where no one got killed. It's just, it wasn't germane to a point. It didn't have to be said. So when you talk about the journalistic challenges, why would somebody say something demonstrably untrue that you didn't need to buttress the point?
Simon, candidate Trump, President Trump, he used words like fake news, dishonest to describe the media. He also called the media at one stage the opposition party. Let's take a look.
We want truthful media. We don't have truthful media. We have people that are, in many cases, I actually think they're sick people. A big portion of the media, the dishonesty, the total deceit and deception makes them certainly partially the opposition party, absolutely. I think they're much more capable than the opposition party. The opposition party is losing badly.
So when you hear that from the president, is that good politics? Is he just playing to a base here?
Well, he's playing to the Breitbart news base that got him elected and that to some extent surrounds him in the White House. That description of the media as the opposition party in America, that's pure Stephen Bannon. He articulated that phrase long before Donald Trump ever articulated it. But when you come up against a candidate who on the campaign trail was consistently pointing his supporters, turning them around and saying, those people at the back there, the reporters, they are absolute scum. And yet this is a politician who has a propensity to tell falsehoods on a continuing daily basis, whose own press secretary does not hesitate. I mean, Melissa McCarthy is satirizing it there, but there's a kernel of truth in it. He stands behind that podium every day, and reporters in the room cannot be certain that the information on which he is basing his argument is actually factual. Indeed, Kellyanne Conway has said this is a White House that traffics in alternative facts. There are no alternative facts. This is a president who factually is chipping away at public confidence in the nation's democratic institutions. He's attacking public confidence in the judicial system. He's attacking public confidence in democracy, in the media. He's attacking public confidence in opinion pollsters. There's a reason he's doing that, and that's to try and shore up his support and turn this into an increasingly authoritarian era of presidential politics.
Okay, David, how do you explain this? I mean, the president making these kind of statements, which, as Lynn points out, you know, are demonstrably false, and then, you know, the spokespeople come out and they have to try and explain this.
Well, it's almost, I feel throughout the campaign, I kind of developed a theory about this, that it's a mistake to look at anything Donald Trump says and think that he is using words in order to convey information or to convey some kind of fact. It's almost a mistake. What he's actually doing when he talks and when he tells stories that never happened and says things that are just completely wrong is that he's trying to convey an attitude. He's kind of striking a pose. And what he's saying isn't intended to be true as much as it is to say something about himself, to reach a certain audience, whatever it is. It's almost like it doesn't matter to him that it's true or false. If you tell him that's not true, he would just kind of shrug and say, so what? And I don't think we've ever had anyone like this go through political life, rise to the presidency this way, who was that thoroughly, I don't know what you want to say, post-truth, afactual, whatever you want to say.
Just one other point. I mean, what he's doing here, I think David's absolutely right. He is piercing the fundamental compact that has existed here for decades, that a president is accountable to the public through his interaction with reporters, that a president accepts the concept that he will face questions that sometimes he doesn't like. As a great former White House correspondent, Sam Donaldson, once said, there's no such thing as bad questions, it's only the answers that hurt you. He doesn't buy any of that.
But, Simon, when we talk about lies, let's take President Obama. PolitiFact, you know, a Pulitzer Prize-winning website, published dozens of lies said by President Obama, 4 pages of it. Did we see that response from the media?
You almost certainly did not see the kind of vigorous response from the media towards those statements that you might see towards Donald Trump. I'm not saying that the media is faultless here in any way, nor do I think that the media is monolithic. But I do think that there is a fundamental compact between politicians and the press that Donald Trump is threatening forever to change.
Right, because, Lynn, what this has led to right now is the media are openly calling Donald Trump a liar. We've heard that from the New York Times. Then there was CBS News said this. Let's watch this.
It has been a busy day for presidential statements divorced from reality. Mr. Trump said this morning that any polls that show disapproval of his immigration ban are fake. He singled out a federal judge for ridicule after the judge suspended his ban, and Mr. Trump said that the ruling now means that anyone can enter the country. The president's fictitious claims, whether imaginary or fabricated, are now worrying even his backers, particularly after he insisted that millions of people voted illegally, giving Hillary Clinton her popular vote victory.
So, in a sense, I mean, we look at the media right now, it's very gratifying. It's thrilling, actually, to see this, you know, this questioning, this kind of statements we hear like that. Is this media now not pulling any more punches? They're going to say it like it is.
There is such an overwhelming amount of stuff not true that comes out of Trump and the Trump White House that I just caution everyone on this panel and listening, this is unprecedented. I know I used that word before. It's not comparable to anything. Of course, in the 8 years of countless speeches and statements, yeah, President Obama couldn't be scored perfect all the time. But this is a torrent on almost a daily basis between statements and tweets of saying things that are not based in fact or sometimes in reality, such as people were bussed into New Hampshire to vote for Trump. Things that people would have witnessed, thousands of people being bussed to a place and then knowing that those people are not, I mean, just think, if people were bussed, how do you know they all were going to vote for you?
Yeah.
Anand, I wonder if, you know, amidst this, you know, accusation countering the gotcha, you know, my fellow panelists are absolutely right. I mean, there's so many falsehoods coming from the White House, but that means that a lot of my distinguished journalists on this panel have to spend a lot of time doing fact checking. I wonder, do we lose the news?
No.
Do we lose the big story? Do we lose some of the other things that are going on amidst this, you know, constant fact checking? Is his diversionary tactics working?
Okay, let me put this out. One of his cabinet nominees was in trouble, I think, for not paying for having an undocumented child care worker. What happens is that a bad story kind of gets supplanted by a worse one. So I suppose he gets a little bit of a dividend that that there's so much there. I mean, just think in other administrations, and so your listeners know, this is a big deal in the U.S. for public officials to not pay the proper taxes on, you know, people they employ, and especially if you employ somebody who's not here legally. When you're in the public eye, it could be career-ending. So, you know, so you do have under this tsunami of news, I guess he has even escaped some even worse story.
Okay, we are going to have to end it there. Thanks to all of you for being with us. That's it for this edition of The Heat.